Existing laws, such as sedition, computer crimes, and Lese Majeste, have been applied more rigorously than before. This has prompted Thailand's ranking in international press freedom tables to drop sharply. And the Foreign Correspondents Club of Thailand would like to note that we are now aware of more than 20 cases of media visas being denied to journalists. Most recently, and this is breaking news, the EFE, International News Agency out of Spain. The club's stance is, despite being told that those rejected may apply for business visas, these are cases of legitimate journalists being denied media visas, and this is difficult to understand. The situation in Thailand will be noted today at the World Press Freedom Day ceremony in Helsinki. But a Thai journalist invited by the government of Finland and UNESCO was barred by the authorities here from attending. Prawit Rujanafrok was told his 2 sessions of attitude adjustment have obviously not worked. And because he continues online, in their words, to criticize the authorities, his request to visit Finland for the press ceremony was denied. Kun Prawit is among the Thai journalists who have continued to do what they call objective reporting, despite the pressure. To discuss the situation, we are privileged to have with us this evening 4 experienced Thai journalists. Kun Nopan Wanganan has been a journalist since 1991, reporting on Thailand, Singapore, and Southeast Asia for the Wall Street Journal, the Far Eastern Economic Review, and Reuters. After 2 years of building the brand of Forbes Thailand, he rejoined the Bangkok Post last June as deputy editor. Kun Kunchada Chaipipat is a campaign manager at the Southeast Asia Press Alliance. Prior to that, she spent 11 years working as a journalist at The Nation. She's covered politics, security, and the region extensively, from the post-Cambodian conflict to the Mekong sub-regional development and ASEAN. Kun Jironut Premchaipon is director of the online news outlet Prachatai. In 2015, she was sentenced by the Supreme Court to an 8-month suspended sentence over allowing comments deemed critical of the monarchy to remain on the now defunct Prachatai discussion board. That was in 2008. Kun Anuti Detewapan has been with Voice TV for nearly 4 years as a field reporter covering politics. He previously was secretary of the Student Federation of Thailand while he was attending Thammasat University. We are also honored to have in the audience some distinguished guests. I'd like to welcome the U.S. Ambassador, Glenn Davies, and his wife, Jackie. Thank you for attending. Along with another U.S. Ambassador, the Acting Deputy Chief of Mission, Ambassador Larry Dinger. And I was also told that the Ambassador of Sweden, Staffan Herrström, is to be attending tonight. And if there are some others of ambassadorial rank that I am not aware of, please accept my apologies. And before we get started, I should note that there are a couple of other visitors here as well, members of the military of the Kingdom of Thailand, who have been faithful attendees of nearly all of our recent events here at the Foreign Correspondents Club. Please be aware that they may be photographing some of you tonight. So without further ado, please let me hand it over to Kun Nopan, who will start with some introductory remarks. Kun Nopan.
Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Can I have the microphone on, please? Okay, can you hear me now? Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. No.
I think we're going to give you a portable microphone.
It's a new system. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to be here tonight and a bit nervous because usually I'm on the other side of the panel. Not often that I'll be in the front and speaking and making news. I'll try not to make news in front of a lot of journalists here. I'll do my best. To be honest, I cannot really represent the Bangkok Post at the beginning when the coup took place in 2014, because I had not joined the Post then. I only joined the Post in June last year, but I did speak with my boss, my colleague, Kun Pichai Chunsuksawat, on what has happened and what has been the policies of the Post in reporting under the military regime. Well, the question is, are we reporting under a normal situation? The answer is it's not, because Thailand is not ruled by an elected civilian government. It's been coming up to 2 years now since the coup took place, and it's not a normal situation. But if you ask me how we have been operating, whether we have been under any pressure by the ruling generals, the answer is very rarely. What made this coup different from the two previous ones was that this junta, instead of appointing a civilian prime minister, the coup leader has become the prime minister himself. And there's no clear indication how long they're going to stay in power for. And instead of setting up an ad hoc temporary government to draft a new constitution and let's go to the election, we see the pushing back of the goalpost in having an election. And so for us, this is not normal. The NCPO has an interim charter, and the coup leader becomes the prime minister. And he has the power under Section 44 to do whatever he wants, including closing down newspapers, television channels that he likes. After the May coup, we've been given some discussions. We've been invited for a talk like any other editors of other newspapers. But the message we're trying to get out of that was that don't oppose us. Don't try to urge people to oppose us or attempt to overthrow this NCPO. Well, we've been saying what they have been saying. We've been reporting what they've been saying, and we've been criticizing them as well on their policies that they have issued. Another message we understood was that don't try to worsen this political divide. And they are going for reform, they're going for charters. But our point is, we make clear since the beginning that if you want a reform, there should be an open discussion, a debate. And we are using our editorial opinion pages to be the venue for the discussion. So far, we have been receiving no interference. There might be some calls by some government people, some military people to say they want their side of the story to be reported. They want their people to write in our opinion pages, which we allow them, we'll welcome them as well, because the opinion pages are open for all sides for an open discussion. And for our news pages, you tell me whether you see any threat or any withholding of our attempt to report fact. I think we are, so far, we've been able to say what we want to say. We've been able to report what we want to report without any interference. I leave it there for now. Maybe you can have more discussion in the second round. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for those introductory comments. We'll now turn it over to Kun Chara.
So is this mic working? Can you hear? Okay, we'll use this mic. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's really a good opportunity to be able to speak here, especially today is World Press Freedom Day. I think no one should be able to stop us from talking about press freedom. And I think it's really good occasion to analyze what happened here in Thailand and also what can be done to improve it. As a regional organization that has been working to promote and protect freedom of expression and freedom of the media over the past almost 20 years. And as we have been observing the situation and condition of the press freedom in this part of the region, I would say from myself, working as SIPA and former journalist, I guess here's the worst time for Thailand in terms of freedom of expression. And if you look at the world ranking, press freedom ranking, of course you're familiar with that already. I don't need to emphasize or repeat, because at SIPA we don't do ranking, but we do analyze and monitor regional trends and specific issues for the countries. Compared to other countries in the region, I guess Thailand facing the worsening situation, and followed by Malaysia. The reason I'm saying that I try not to rank, but I try to picture incidents and violations that took place over the last 2 years is really point to that direction. Thailand is a democracy country, but as you know that in Southeast Asia you have many shades of democracy. And it's a pity that our ranking is really worsening this far. I would say that actually before I came here, my executive director had a very funny expression. When we first hear the topic of this discussion, how free is Thailand, his first reaction is, aha. So that expression comes from the fact that it's really up to your interpretation, whose side you are on. Of course, from the perspective of the media organization, I think we are at the worst hit so far. You can't compare Thailand with Laos and Vietnam, which is already a stagnant world situation. It hasn't changed much, but for Thailand over the last 2 years, it's really going down. The fact that the government, the military government, using increasingly heavy-handed tactics, laws, and non-legal tactics to stifle citizens and the media is really worrisome so far. And also, aside the fact that this incident has been very obvious, there are also some other, a kind of behind-the-scene tactic, which has been underreported and has not been reported to the media. We receive complaints, and our media friend told us also there were other cases where they have been received calls, they have been called for meeting, but it didn't appear in the media page, or some people were not aware of that. So that is something that adds on to the worsening situation. And the most serious concern now, because Thailand used to be one of the showcase for press freedom along with Philippines and Indonesia. Now we are really in deep trouble. And my worst fear is that as we attempt to promote democracy, promote independent media in the region, what we would anticipate and the fact that the chilling effects of the heavy-handed tactic used by the current government, we are losing independent media. ASEAN will become the club of less independent media, whereas we attempt to push for a strong community of like-minded press freedom and also independent media. We are losing Thailand for now. I just hope that we would get better, but we really need support from other countries, from international community, and also from other countries as well. If you look at Indonesia, Philippines, and also East Timor and Cambodia, of course the press freedom condition is sliding back, but it's a kind of mixed situation. There are some improvement in certain aspects, and of course there are some other issue that worsening the situation, but still compared to Thailand, I guess they are much better. For example, in Indonesia, for now, the issue they're facing is the gaining influence of the conservative. That's really undermine free speech. For example, issue like religion, issue like LGBT is become really a taboo topics, and it's really placed censorship on the role of the media. And also for Philippines, I think Philippines in general, or at least by record, the press freedom condition is still very okay, very good. But in reality, they're also facing a very constant threat of killing. As you know, Philippines is the only country in Southeast Asia that still have the killings, and it doesn't seem to be decreasing. And in our record, last year there were 10 cases up until now, and 6 are related to media works. They face that kind of situation, but still the media can still be able to do their jobs. They may face some other legal threats like defamation, but the civil society and the press freedom group there can still fight back. And if you look back to Thailand, even the press freedom groups become really weak, when they try to criticize or explain the issue to the junta, they'll face harassment, they face verbal attack personally by the Prime Minister. And this morning, a lot of you may have heard what happened at the government house, right? I guess the press freedom groups met the Prime Minister this morning very briefly and tried to explain the reason for being there, and the response from the Prime Minister is that something like, what are you asking for? Is that enough that you have this much freedom? We're not going to intervene you. But when the media said, of course we want the government to revoke a number of laws that really have an impact on press freedom, he said that he would look into it and said if one revoke, other can be replaced as well. I don't know whether this is a tongue-in-cheek or is a real response from the Prime Minister in relation to the call made by the media professional groups. I guess I will stop here and let Kun Jiranut speak about the internet situation. Okay.
Yes, please go ahead, Kun Jiranut.
Sawadee good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think I would like to thank for the FCCT to organize these kinds of event. And when I talk with many people, they said you think you can have, you can talk tonight? You think that can allow you to talk or something? I don't know. I think, oh, the topic is so simple. It's very, very minded topics, which is actually, I think it's already told us how free is Thai media. Under the circumstance right now, but the topic that we can talk at the FCCT is how free is Thai media. The answer, I think everyone know about this already, but as to make the topic is not too radical, too aggressive, we need to put it in a very kind of like a neutral way. That is my interpretation, my understanding about it. So the topic itself is answer the question of the how free of the Thai media. And this is the first time when I got invited and I planned that, okay, I'm gonna write a script to talk. The first reason is I think, okay, I should be careful to think what can I talk, what I cannot talk, or something like that, to well prepare, and also try to think about what else that I need to tell you. Because I think you guys know a lot of things that happen in Thailand already. And I spent kind of like thinking about this 3 or 4 days. And it's difficult to prepare for something that, what can I say? What should I say this? What should I not say that? So it's difficult. So I come up, I cannot write my script. So I just like go spontaneously with you tonight. And I think for my t-shirt, this is my intention to wear this. This is the t-shirt of Free Somyot. It's actually 4 years of Free Somyot, which is last year. 2 years is a 5 year of Free Somyot, which I didn't have money to buy yet because he in jail for 11 years. I'm not sure that I have to wear it until the 11th year or not. But this is also the answer for how free of the Thai media. Once when the editor of the magazine still in jail because of the content that there are someone write in his publication, and he's still in jail for 5 years and still continue his fighting because he's still waiting for the verdict of the, he appeal, he fighting until the Supreme Court. So the process of the verdict that come from Supreme Court is very slow. So don't know yet when the result from the Supreme Court will come. But on the 30th April, is just a few days ago, is 5th year of him in the imprisonment, in prison. He already lived in prison for 5th year and for 5 years. So I think this is something that very difficult to talk about. We are free Thai media since we still have friends or allies still in jail for the reason of his work. I think this is the expression of how free of the Thai media that I want to talk. And another point that I like to talk about related to the issue that, okay, first of all, I want to disclaim that the thing that I measure about the how free of the Thai media is not involved or is not related to the manners of our Prime Minister. How like how inappropriate reaction or interact with the press, with the, that's it. I'm not count. That is some sort of the personal character. I think it should not valid to count at the measurement of the free or not free for the Thai media. So this is my disclaimer. I hope this should not be the problem because I didn't attack him at all. Just like to be known that his behavior, I didn't count for my measurement of the free or not free of the Thai media. And for the issue that I want to talk about, the statement, the letter that the Thai Journalists Association that submit to the Prime Minister today, or it's kind of like the open statement, right? Yeah, it's an open statement or the open letter. I think I agree pretty much of the statement, but just one point that I have some like slightly different opinion because I understand their standing point. They need to when they demand for the press freedom, they have to demand from the authority. They have to demand from the many sectors, including demand from the journalists ourselves. Like so, one of the demand is about the responsibility. We should show our responsibility to be at the safeguard to protect our freedom to work, something like that. in briefly of the translation, it sounds true, it sounds right, it sounds correct, but I think I tried to think about this point for some time, and I found that from my observation, freedom and responsibility is not the same issue. It's not go together. It's something different. Okay, you call ourselves as an ethic to work with the responsibility. That one thing. But to work with the responsibility is not related to the freedom. It's different issue. Because I think if you say that, it's already gives some legitimacy to the authority about some journalists who do something and being targeted or to attack. They might not be responsibility enough, which is actually is not the same issue. I think, okay, we can call for the responsibility, but that's it on our own ethics, not about to have the safeguard for the freedom. Because in most of the country that I follow the situation, the journalists who been lack of the freedom, it doesn't mean because of they have no responsibility. Actually, they face the suppress of the freedom to work because of they have the responsibility to do that job. So I think this is a kind of like for me, that's why I have a little bit different opinion, and the people always says as like the righteousness. The freedom have to come with the responsibility. Okay, I doesn't swear word. Okay, I omit my swear word. Something. It's not for me. It's not. It's different issue. The freedom and responsibility is not go together. But both are important for people. Both are important for our job, for our work. So this is the point of the freedom of expression. Then go back in the detail of like how free is Thai media these days. I think we free the media, Thai media can be free and have the very beautiful picture, beautiful scene in the greenhouse. So you can do your job with the beautifully and the fresh air, not like have to breathe the pollute if you are in the greenhouse. It means if you do your job with kind of like some certain scope, the well practice on the self-censorship, limit your how to say your view at some certain level at the ceiling. You agree to work under the ceiling of the greenhouse. You will be fine. You will be happy, and you will be free for that. But the ceiling of the greenhouse of the different type of media is not the same. I have to say like I'm very sympathized to our broadcast media. They are the most media. They are the most like a restrict among the other. The way that they've been controlled and restrict through the agency like that's called NBTC, National Broadcast and Telecommunication Commission. The NCPO no need to do that job themselves. they have the tools through the NBTC, who support to be the tools for reform for the work of the independent media. But they use NBTC to control the broadcast media because they're licensing the spectrum. Then they can use that as a regulation to regulate the broadcast media. They can shut down some TV channel. So NCPO no need to order directly. They still keep their legitimate, okay, they're not attacked. It's not the work. They didn't do dirty job, dirty hand themselves. They put the dirty to some other organization hand, like NBTC, which I think Anuti can give you more detail about how, when he operate in the broadcast media, is difficulty. So the ceiling of the broadcast media is very low, the limit a lot. They also ban they have the guest list that been banned. I know some people who be here also been the list of the ban for they tell that station, this person not allowed to be on air, to be interviewed. I don't know if that person want to can tell that who he is or something like that. But they already have the list of the guests that can go into the television, into the program, or cannot go. So this is a very go into that. And for the print media, I learned from my colleagues, from other print journalists, that the regularly visit from the military still go to their office quite quick, since when they publish some story that might touch the nerve of the military or something, they will have some guy go to friendly visit at the office and try to have some session discussion. I don't know they have coffee with or not, but they have the visit at the office. For internet, I think the internet is, they probably try to find a way to control, but they could not find the easy way of the single control or any tools. So the way that they control is kind of like they do the jail term. So the Computer Crime Act is a tool that they use to control the internet media and also the netizen, not just only the internet media, and also the netizen. So it's a penalty in the Computer Crime Act is strong and it's harsh. So this is, they didn't have any kind like organization can order the internet. You have to shut down this, because the internet is the universal. You can go across the globe. You cannot control in one territory. But they use the penalty in the law to attack or to control the media and citizen to work on this. And one of the issue of the Computer Crime Act, which actually is just passed since the previous coup, the coup in 2006 and the law implemented in 2007. And now after 2 years of the recent coup, the plan of the amendment of the Computer Crime Act, which is not only Computer Crime Act, it's come as a set of the digital economy, which I think we need to keep an eye on. Now the set of the law is in the National Legislative Assembly. Yeah, so we still need to keep an eye on. And for me, internet is not the platform for professional media only. Internet is a platform for all, for the broadcast media, for the print media, for the internet media, and for all citizens. So this is kind of very important that we have to work together to monitor these things and try to prevent the way that the government try to crack down on the internet. I would like to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kun Jiranut, for all that insight. And now, Kun Anuti, Voice TV, the pressure is on you to follow up on what she referred to there.
Thank you for inviting me tonight. Okay, first let me begin with the question: is how free is the Thai media? I think everybody in this room already has the answer. Okay, it's like we have the elephant in the room, literally in this room right here. He's watching us. So you should have your answer. I don't think it's something happened to FCCT before the coup, right? Now it's happening. So it's a very big elephant in the room, literally in the room, watching us right now. So that's my answer for this question. Now I would like to go into details of. Okay, firstly, I would like to talk about Vice TV's own experience of almost 2 years since the coup happened in May 2014. All right. For Vice TV, we have experienced quite very hard condition under the NCPO's rule. Even since before the coup happened, if you remember, there were martial law declared before the coup, about few days before the coup. And the first day the martial law was declared, we were already shut down. We were taken off air on that day. I remember I woke up that morning. I have a late work in my office, so I don't wake up earlier. I wake up and took my phone to go to the application, the messaging application, and I saw someone sent me this picture in the canteen of the station. Soldiers carrying assault rifles in my canteen that I go to eat every day. I'm no longer sleepy from that point, and that's the beginning of all the misery happened to Vice TV from then until now. Okay, so there were not quite sweet memories after our first. Right, as you have already been told. But however, for a month later, we are allowed to reopen again, with, of course, list of do's and don'ts. We have been negotiating with the NCPO to get reopened, and okay, we are ready to comply to those do's and don'ts they requested us. But ever since, we have been watched closely, literally they watch us from there. I think they watch us from inside their camp, monitoring us all the time. We have discussing programs, the political talks on air. However, in all 2 years from that point, we were not being treated much by the NCPO itself, but by the National Broadcasting and Telecommunication Commission, the NBCT. But however, by the request or complaints of NCPO, they watch every talk program on our channel, and of course they watch our political programs very closely. I would say for they are one most popular program for our audience, and for the NCPO itself, it's called Wake Up Thailand. Now it's no longer exists because it has changed its name to we changed it once into Voice Insight, and then later we changed the program's name to Wake Up News. Now we have Wake Up News. We changed the name 2 times. It's a news talk program in which 3 or 4 hosts come to talk about news. Yeah, you're already familiar with that kind of thing. But you may wonder why we changed the name of the program so often. Yes, it's because of NBCT. When the NCPO saw what our hosts speak is not quite right, or they don't like what they said, they will send a complaint to the NBCT, and then the NBCT will summon us to the Inquisition. And then the Inquisition will decide later, after they heard our speakings, that whether they should put the penalties, whether they should punish us or not. The Inquisition could lead to several kinds of penalties, from forcing us to bring down the program to the worst of shutting us down permanently, without compensation, of course. So in order to avoid further troubles, we took the program down by ourselves. Yes. And then we have this new program, the new name of course, installed. Sometimes we also ask our host, of course nicely, to be off the air for some few days and then come back later. We tried everything to avoid this further trouble that could happen. For example, the most complaint program was the Daily Dose, hosted by Kun Plum Natakon Thewakun. He's one of our most famous program host of our channel. He did the record for like being asked the most to leave programs leave the screen for some few days and then come back later, and no one had ever hit that record yet. So during these hard times, Vice TV has developed this kind of protection mechanism, and we found it works in some degree. Changing names like the chameleon, changing skin colors, and we survive from the predator. And by banning our own host few days from the screen, was like we shot our own head before they could do it. Brilliant. All right, but it's not actually. I was just kidding about that. We were forced to do this. I must say, these are stupid things we do. We do these stupid things because we were too afraid of the situation. And yes, we consider this as a self-censorship that we do to avoid further troubles. Every time we were summoned by the NBCT, we were told by the committee that what our host said was inappropriate due to the circumstances and could lead to further conflicts in our society. We were warned that our content might be considered as violating NCPO Order 97 and 103 of the year 2014, that prohibiting media from publishing or broadcasting information that could be a threat to national security, blah, blah, blah. We complied with almost everything they warned us. And as you can see, we even shot our own head before they do. What troubled them so much that they had to summon us to the Inquisition? Here's some example from, okay, we have been summoned for more than 10 times. Okay, it's not on the news because we don't, nobody is following us that much. But it's more than 10 times already that we have been summoned by the NBCT to the Inquisition. Last year, for this is some examples, right? Last year, Jansirot Krampaiboon was summoned when he said he read the news about there are hundreds of Thai nationalities being victims of human trafficking stuck in Indonesia, and the Thai authority should do something about it. That's what he said. And then he was summoned for that. The NBCT guy warned us that this news he was reading there make Thai authority looks bad, and this should not be repeated again. Another good example came just last week. It was when just last week, you remember when there are one activist, Anonampa, from Resistance Citizen Group. He held a press conference and he said he announced that if Watana Mungsuk was not released by that Friday, he will stage a demonstration. We were summoned because we do the reports on that. The reason is that we released a sound bite of that part when Anon said that he will head a demonstration. And this is something strange, right? Because there are other medias over there doing the story, covering the stories, and they do the news the same way we do, but we were the only one summoned to NBCT. And every time we were even criticized for many times that our programs were too biased because our hosts just agreed on everything. We were suggested to suggested to adjust our program to have more people with different ideas to discuss the topic. Okay, and this is the only thing we did not comply from the first time until now, and I'm glad we didn't. Yes, we are. I must admit that yes, Voice TV, we are biased and we choose sides, but we are also certain that we do our work professionally. We stood our ground to take liberal side, and at the same time we represent our opponent's voice as well. I mean, their voice, really, we do that in many forms, and also in form of sound bites. A long sound bites of our opponents were presented in our broadcasting. Okay, so I think that Voice TV have what Voice TV have to face all along was enough proof of the press freedom situation in Thailand. The people out there, the international observers, were right to say that we are not free at all, and especially the media like us. I know, like the media like us, like Voice TV, like many other channels. We were branded by the authority and even by the Thai Journalists Association, the TJA, as red medias. We were branded that way, and we were not treated as media by them at all. They never fought for us in anything. They even considered us dark spots in the press society, and which we just disappeared. Okay, so I think one of the reasons why there is so much repression of the press freedom in Thailand is because of media society in Thailand itself. The media people allow this to happen and accept it without shame, especially those top people in the media society. Like, could you imagine any media who care about freedom of the press in any dictatorial country take selfies with the dictator himself wearing a student cosplay uniform in National Children's Day? We have that in Thailand. We have those kind of people, lots of them, within the media society. However, I kind of understand their ideas and culture, like as a Thai people myself, how these people feel really normal to flatter in Thai sense, if someone know Thai language, ประจบ สพ right. Those in power to get interviews and stories. It was Thai press culture for quite a very long time. The field press, the press in the field do that for quite a long time, and felt nothing was wrong with it. However, my question is, do they have to take that far to make themselves so, I don't know what to say about them, these people. But however, the worst is here. The TJA, Thai Journalists Association, the one who should protect us the most, they accept being from the first point of the coup. They accept being appointed as a reform council, National Reform Council. And by doing this, they already support NCPO's repression to the media. Okay, they may say something when NCPO issue Order 97 and 103, and even today they say something about it as well. But I don't think they are so serious about that. From what happened in the last 2 years, I don't think they are so serious about that. I mean, don't you think it's too late for that? Like, there's been already 2 years and a lot of things happened to the press society in Thailand, and you just felt you should do something? Like, the thing is, they never really care to protect medias being someone or threatened to the punish by these two orders by the NCPO. They say something when Pravit Rojanaphik was someone. Yes, they say something in the first, but only in the first time. I think few days after the coup. Only for the first time, but nothing was said when he was summoned other several times, and nothing was said when he was to resign from the nation due to the pressure from the authority. Nothing was said when Vice TV was summoned more than dozens of times by the NBCT. TJA raised voices seriously only when their fellow top people in the media society were being threatened. For example, TJA immediately raised its concern when the nation was threatened by the risk that the Nation Group, the Nation Group company, the media company, was threatened by the risk that it could be taken over by the SLC, another media company. It's okay to raise concern about that, but did they do the same to the other media when they were being threatened by something more serious? Complete silence. I think complete silence was quite clear. Was quite clearly their answer. If I can describe the TJA with a few words, I would say aristocracy and double standard describes their sole existence on this earth. And this thing about freedom with responsibility, it was their slogan for many years and in many campaigns. It's a good idea, but actually, if we really have freedom, it could be okay to say that. It would be best to, if this slogan was applied without double standard. I mean, this slogan was to really meant, don't use your freedom if it is against my fellow people. They never say that, but in fact, in actual thing they do for many years, look, since it's already almost a decade. What they do applies to these things. Don't use your freedom if it is against my fellow people. TJA, like many media who the TJA considered professional, like us. We are not considered by the TJA as a professional media. Many on the online news and other people don't consider by the TJA as a professional media. But they consider some kind of people who make quite a lot of mistakes a professional media. For example, Nauna, the paper who the TJA president is from, accused people using headline expressing, like a lot of things, racism, sexism, and many other form of discrimination many times. They even wrote news with even false information, but never being warned by TJA. The manager used the same form of discriminations and accusations for many times in many years, and nothing was said. And lately, just few days ago, T News just accused the activist Silawit Seritiwat and his mother with Lese Majeste using nonsense evidence, and nothing was said about that. Complete silence again. And here's another case from Komachanluk, a newspaper from the Nation Group just last month they have gone too far to in accusing their opponents. They have just excused Jirapan Tanmani, the first victim of the referendum law, of being hired by red shirts and in close relation with Chaturun Chai Sang. The fact is, she always speaks against Thaksin and Jinglak, both in public and on Facebook. So I could say this is a friendly fight, and the hater, blindfold hater, is working against even their own people. But many things happen by the medias on the other side, but the TJA stay silent. There are thousands more of examples in this past 10 years to show how irresponsible the Thai media could be in accusing someone by just tying them with people around them, making up stories of connections to people and affairs, and the worst to rely on their so-called reliable source, an invisible man who saw everything. But these mistakes were always ignored and never spoken by the TJA. if they came from the media on their side, on their same side, their friends. Okay, so I could never accept the slogan freedom with responsibility of the TJA valid until it is applied equally. They point their fingers at us, the red medias, for irresponsibilities while ignoring those people behind them, keeping spreading hatred. Okay, yes, for many times the media on every side in this society in this decade really spread hatred, and it is something needed to be fixed. Regulators, organ and mechanisms like the TJA and NBCT are still necessary, but we would like them to be trustworthy, to not only prohibit things, but also have to protect us as well. By saying us, I mean every media, not only their friends and those on the same side with them. I still have some more parts. Should I go on or should I stop?
Why don't we take a break for some questions, because
Yes,
people
sure.
may have some questions that reference your other material there.
All right, sure.
So thank you very much, Kun Anati, for that great explanation. And we'll open it up to questions. First, from the working press, there should be a microphone. Oh, you're going to go around the room? Oh, it's back there. Okay, so who from the working media would like to ask a question? Please limit it to one question, and if you'll give us your name and your affiliation, please.
Yeah, my name is George McLeod. I'm a club member.
What is your affiliation?
A club member, but I'm with, professionally I'm with PwC.
Okay.
My observation is that the Bangkok Post has been running a lot of, very good coverage of the NCPO and of, the re-education facilities. And I guess I'm asking whether this is just me seeing that the Bangkok Post is being quite critical of the NCPO, or whether perhaps the English language media is being treated differently than the Thai media. Thank you.
Okay, maybe Kun Nopon, you want to take that since it's about the Bangkok Post?
Well, I don't think that we have changed our stance on reporting. We've been reporting what we should be reporting all along in the past 2 years, since after the coup. So, are we being more critical, or are we being as critical as we have been? I think it's the latter part, because we are trying to report what's happening, and we still get that freedom, if you may, and we will continue to perform that. And on your question whether because it's English newspaper which got less audience, well, you could look at it that way, but on the other hand, most policymakers would read the Bangkok Post, and among the diplomatic community as well. So in that sense, it does have influence among our readers. So I'm not sure whether I could say that because it's the English newspaper, therefore it got less or better treatment than the Thai press. I'm not aware of, I don't know how the Thai press has been treated, whether they've been giving a call in for attitude readjustment or others, apart from Voice TV. I'm not sure about that. You have to talk to them, but I'm not aware of all this. So just to give you an answer, I think we've been doing our job the best as we can so far.
Thank you. Next question, please.
Chiranai from Khao Sot English. Oh, thank you FCCT for hosting this very important panel tonight. Thank you Kun Davies for joining us. I'm sure you find this experience very enlightening about Thailand. And I'd like to ask the questions to the panelists. Very simple, just easy question to answer. It's really obligatory question basically. Has your news organization ever been instructed not to report certain things about the monarchy? Because I believe, this is question from fellow news reporter to fellow news reporters. I have had my shares of back channels, things. But just, I mean, I've known some of the panelists, personally, but I have never actually asked this question, and I think this matter should be discussed publicly, not privately. So, so has your, news organization ever been, instructed not to report certain things that were, about the monarchy at all? And by monarchy, I mean it covers Lese Majeste. So, I mean, it's such a big thing about media freedom, isn't it? If you can't report about the most important institution in the country, then, elephant in the room, as you say, Anuti.
Whoever wants to take
think-
that one first.
I think for Prasha Thai, we are the one
of
who
course.
cover most of the Lese Majeste.
I'm actually aware of that and I respect that, but has you ever been
Actually, since the coup, we have to practice self-censorship. That is kind of like the thing that new for us. Usually for Prasha Thai, we encourage our journalists to do what you think is important for the society. No need to care about what, but just have to comply with the conduct that you supposed to. But the limit of the issue that we can do is the limit by law. So we carefully about the defamation and also not to violate the Lese Majeste by ourselves. Even we cover a lot on the Lese Majeste. But since the coup, I think a lot of the sensitive and unpredictable enforcement of the authority, so we have to be careful. I feel sometimes I also annoy when my colleague ask, can we do about the transition? I think actually you should be fine, that is something, but okay, you just check if everything is alright. Okay. This is kinds of thing that we used to, my colleague also feel free to do this thing more before, but now they a little bit kind of like the cautious and careful. So yes, we do some, and we more cautious on kind of like the certain issues.
Is it like have you ever been instructed by certain authorities or whatever to kind of like, please don't report about this or about the monarchy or transition, succession, Lese Majeste? No.
I think it's kind of like a self-censorship when we read the sentiment in the society and when we observe the thing that happens to the ordinary. that been, I think it's kind of like the nerve of the NCPO is very sensitive. I don't know if we have to be careful not to touch that nerve, and because we still want to continue our job, we want to continue to cover, to provide the information about the human rights violation in general, which is I think is very important in dealing these circumstance. Yeah.
Okay. And 3 other panelists, if you may, please.
All right, my friend. Could you imagine someone already willing to put a bullet in their own head, have guts enough to do that kind of story? No? Once we don't have to be told by anyone, they already do further self-censorship on that issues, especially on that issues. And because it is also on the order number 97 and 103, so we never even think about that.
But have you ever been instructed by authorities, or is it, as Kun Jinut said,
Or
some kind
authority,
of self-censorship?
I don't know about authority is something the executives
Okay,
go to talk with
down the line,
the
okay.
guy out there. But for the field workers like myself, just being instructed by our supervisors sometimes that okay, don't do this thing.
All right. Kun Nophorn, please.
Well, we all know that this Article 112 has a penalty of 5 to 15 years in jail, each count, right? Which means that one report means one count. But for us, if you've been reading our newspaper, you would see that every time when there's a news case, a new report by someone against someone on this Article 112 on the Lese Majeste case, we report about them at the best of our knowledge. if we are aware of the case, we report about it. And last year, just like most of us do at Council, as I suppose, when at the end of last year, we tried to round up what happened in the past year. And we did round up the cases of Lese Majeste in the past year under the military junta. And we did that. And to the best of our knowledge, we tried to be fair to all sides. We talked to campaigners, we talked to lawyers, and we also tried to talk to the NCPO spokespeople too. But when we approached them, the answer was, don't ever touch it. But we did. So we did round it. We did a report on that, on the tallies of what happened in the past year. But it turned out to be that the number of cases was less than in the previous government for last year, believe it or not. And we tried to give them a chance to say, why is that? They declined to talk to us. And we, to the best of our effort, we tried to be fair to all sides. We called another spokesman, and we did get some simple reply from another spokesman saying, yeah, okay. But we got the whole story, sent it out, and it's got published. Don't ask me what date it was, but it was published. And that spokesperson who declined to talk to us called the editor, and that's all. Nothing happened. That's it.
Anything to share with us?
I'll be the last to share because our organization is not the media organization. We are a media monitoring group. But as we observe throughout the region, they do have taboo issues. And for Thailand, this is the only one. I used to go to Vietnam, and the media friends there were saying, you have Lese Majeste. You cannot criticize the monarchy the same way that we cannot criticize the Communist Party. And penalties for offending this law is really serious. And you repeat the question many times that has there been any instruction? I would say no. And in my time as a journalist, there's no instruction because this issue has been with the Thai media for so long, and the Thai media never test this limit. It is also because, as Jiranut pointed out, the enforcement of this law is really, something that is not quite normal, and that's why you cannot establish ground. What can be said, what cannot be said, and it's become internalized in the newsroom. If there is anything concerned, that upper levels, they would not touch it.
So it becomes some kind of censorship within the newsroom.
Yeah, it's the red flag, actually, and everyone knows, yeah.
So do you think that's...
Okay,
do you think the media should do more to report
Let's let someone else ask a question,
Okay,
and
no,
if there's
sorry,
time, we can come back to you.
Thank you for your
Yeah.
answers, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Next, please.
Hi, I'm Marwan Mark, a freelance journalist. A measure of freedom of expression in dictatorships could be what we experienced in Myanmar, where you have a harsh regime that forces journalists into jail if they cross the line, or you force them to submit their copy to a censor board. Neither of that happens in Thailand at the moment. But what seems to be happening is they keep you off balance by laws that, on the one hand, as you said, forces you into self-censorship. But do you think this is a much more dangerous climate where journalists are never sure what line they're going to cross because of the penalty that is there? And in a way, the NCPO does not end up with blood on its hands because you journalists end up taking the burden of whether it's a story you want to write or not. And by doing so, you're giving them a free ride. Thanks.
I think actually you answer your question already. it's sure. This is kind of like the create the climate of fear, and also it's already okay. You say red ball, that's it. What's the red ball? But okay, people know red ball. That's it. You don't need to explore what inside the red ball. And the society, from the media, society already accept. Since you say red ball, we gonna stop. We already like a turn off, switch off already. And probably my red ball and Pikulachada red ball is a different red ball, and we didn't see inside. So that then we already allow some black hole in the society, that the people in the democratic society, semi-democratic, a quarterly democratic, something less than semi-democratic, can explore and can decide by themselves that what they do agree to accept that red ball or not. I think this is, and actually is a role of journalists, try to peel the red ball to see inside. But we are human beings. We are also afraid. I understand my colleague. I also understand myself. Sometimes I also fear. I don't think that brave all the time is good. You still need some kind like the psychology to be fear, to be survive. I think so. But okay, we need to. I think as individual, probably difficult, but we might need to work together, not only among the Thai media. Also, I think with the foreign media, have to give the credit for the Article 112, the issue of the Lese Majeste. We have to give the credit to our foreign journalists here that help us to to speak up and to explain what's going on, as a Thai media could not do much.
Anybody else want to comment on that?
Well, I think sometimes ambiguity is good, because if you ask them what to do, what to write, what not to write, and they come up with a list of what not to write and what not to report, and you could end up report on nothing, because there's so many rules there. But if they make it ambiguous, it means that there are many things you can write, because it's not set in stone, it's not in writing. And I remember at one time, soon after the coup, the junta called in a group of editors for a meeting. And then some reporters just asked, why don't you just come up with a list of what to do and what not? Another editor said, you stupid, you are. Because if you do that, then they're going to come up with a long list and you just cannot report on anything. Maybe our colleagues here who are from the militaries or from Ministry of Foreign Affairs may change their mind after my talk.
I don't know whether I could answer your question correctly, but I think the fact that this law has been with the Thai media for so long, it is the chilling effect that have an impact. And it would really take political changes, because under the current political environment, you will not touch on the issue. There were times when there is a little opening, when the public, especially the academe, was allowed to talk a little bit about the need to reform the laws, not abolishing the law. Because even if those with critical minds still believe that you still need this law, but that happened, I guess, for 6 or 7 years ago, and after the coup, everything changed. You got to see a lot of cases of Lese Majeste. You know, the record was there, and you can just look at it. But for one thing, it means that the law fails to stop people from talking about the issue. The media, yes, because there are many restrictions, there are many structures for the media to deal with if they face the legal consequence coming from the Lese Majeste charges. But for the public, even with the law, they still challenge. That's why you get a lot of cases, a lot of people arrested and thrown into jail because of this law. So I didn't want to say more, but I think that was an opening to look into how the law should be treated, how the law should be reformed, at least the enforcement. But this is not the right time to talk about that.
Next question.
Hi, this is Todd Ruiz, also from Kausat English. And I have a very simple, practical, relevant question, but in keeping with tradition, some pedantic comments first. To frame the question, I saw there was an editorial a couple of days ago from the what is probably best described as the paper of record for Thailand, and we're here on the occasion of press freedom, right, to be celebrated on Wednesday, and the editorial, which I think I can say is someone who's worked in the industry, it's kind of embarrassing. Actually attacks one of the few organizations in the world which is campaigning for reporters and increased media access, Reporters Sans Frontières, saying that it's wrong about Thailand and that Thailand in fact is fighting the good fight, but seems to kind of miss the point of what the report's about. And in the editorial, now I'll be brief in this. In the editorial, the editorial panel takes the position that the reason a country like Finland has such a high ranking of media freedom is because there's just no problems in Finland. It's just such a utopia. Actually, it says, I'll quote here, "What on earth would the Finnish government ever want to censor? It is no doubt comforting to many Finns to live in a center of so little conflict." I'm sure there's some people in Finland who would dispute that. My point for raising this goes into the question, which is, okay, let's say Friday night the big guy gets on TV and he says, hey, you know what, we've been wrong. All press freedoms, you guys go for it, do right about whatever you want, any topic is no longer taboo. My question for the panel is, what would you do with that? What would be the first stories, what would be the topics that would be right in your sights go day one? Thank you.
จะต้องการ what reaction จะตอบว่า Okay, so the question you would like to ask whether those RSF ranking is correct?
Oh no, I'm sorry.
What?
Yeah, let me.
Whether
I'm sorry,
we have freedom?
Yeah, let me phrase. If tomorrow or sometime soon, all the concerns were removed, and local media operating in Thailand didn't have to worry about 112, didn't have to worry about the taboo topics. Meaning there's a full range of topics available. You, as a working journalist, what would be the first topics on your list? I want to do this story, and that story. I've been waiting. I'm curious what they are. Thank you.
I see. So how to answer this?
Okay, maybe I can paraphrase. If there were no restrictions, what would be the first story you would want to do?
October 1976.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else want to answer that? No?
The topic cannot say right now.
Okay, we get that.
Well, there are plenty of stories that you can do. You can talk about, how this military-run government is spending our budget. Where does the money go? Whether there's going to be increase, decrease in numbers of weapons, soldiers, anything. On the economy side, what are we going to do with the problems of our farmers? What are we going to do with the problems of our people in the countryside? It's whether the drought problem will be the resolve, and a long list of things that you could do. I mean, without, if we were free without any restriction, we are still doing that, and we still doing that. We still see stories that worth doing and do it. And with 112, of course, we do have our editorial stance is the law must be reformed, and the law must not be used as a political tool to get rid of your political opponents. But when it's ready, when there's a government that's ready to do that, then it's time for them to do it. Right now, we are still doing what we are doing all along, and it is a difficult situation, but we've been able to do what we can do so far. And if I may, what would Council English have on your news list?
Thank you. Next question, please.
Mishari Mukbil, Travel Impact Newswire. The last time that that there was this feeling of a climate of fear amongst journalists, I remember, was during the Thaksin era, just before up until the time that Muang Thai Rai Sapdah got pulled from television. So I was wondering if the panelists can characterize the similarity and differences between what journalists are feeling right now compared to that era. Thank you.
Perhaps my quick response to this, because we started to monitor Thailand since then when Thaksin came into power. The tactic that Thaksin used is not the one that has been applied now by the army. He used business influence to control the media more than anything else. Of course, the climate of censorship is there in the newsroom. It came to proxy to editors, but one of the feeling that I can distinguish between Thaksin era and the current regime is that I felt the Thai media in general, especially the mainstream, hate Thaksin more than the military. But if you compare to the tactic used, it was really heavy-handed under the current regime, using the laws, non-legal threat, harassment. It's really too much. But still, a lot of Thai media still hate Thaksin more. I don't know why. I don't have any answer. But I would say that during those times, the intervention is also serious. That certain media has to, we thought the new government would do something good about press freedom. The Thai media beginning to enjoy press freedom after 1997 Constitution, which is the best country for freedom of expression and the freedom of the media. And then Thaksin came and shattered everything. Perhaps that might be the reason.
Pracha Thai was found during the Thaksin, and one of the reasons because of the media control by Thaksin government is like make some sort of the feeling of the we need some kind like the independent media. So that's the reason when Pracha Thai start. But since we start and we are under the Thaksin administration for 2 years, we had never experienced any kind like the suppressed by Thaksin. Probably we are too not been known by during that time, and online is not yet. But from my observation about the different tactic, I think Thaksin, he used a kind like the modern tools, which is it's difficult for Thai media to compete with. In that sense, that's why it's for military government, they use the way as kind of like the obvious. For me, this is so obvious, and because they're very confident of the power in their hand, it's easy to say this is a crackdown on the media or suppress to the media, and the media agree on that because they also know that the power in the hand of the military, and not so complicated for them to deal with, just okay. But with Thaksin, I think it's kind of like the modern way to deal, and have to apologize. This is my own opinion. Our friends in Thai media, probably including us, we didn't have like competence or ability to deal with this kinds of new strategy or new tactic that Thaksin attacked to the media. So the way that we just like want to fight back or feel counter back, and the characters of Thaksin, I think among the middle class talking to, is very kind of like his character is not so. It's not charming for the middle class. It's so arrogant. It's so like you are. So I think it's a Thai society. We go more for the characteristic or for the personality rather than the rationality or something like that.
Just to add on, I would second Kun Chada on Thaksin's move on using business tools or business means as a tool to get to where he wanted. I mean, remember this government, this military junta, came through power through ripping off the charter, and then they know that they have the problem of legitimacy internationally. So whatever they do, they also resort to their laws and orders, no matter how draconian they are. But they always come up with, under this law, under this regulation, they do this. But under Thaksin, he's been in power for some time, and he knew that whoever opposed him, even though there's no law to go after them, he would go through what available in the market there, i.e. Getting his friends to take over some newspaper outlets that were very critical to him. And if you remember the Matichon case, at one point there was a story that Grammy Entertainment was going to buy a strategic stake in Matichon. And there was a big outcry among local media outlets there. And at the end, well, the people won, and Grammy backed off, didn't buy into Matichon. And it remained, at that time, remained as critical to Thaksin as it had been. So that was a case. And also, if you look at another case, which was ITV, which was supposed to be an independent public television. And it was so critical of Thaksin, so much that he didn't like it. He bought some stake, changed the management, and got his people into the news, the television channel. And then a lot of people left. Some of them moved to the other side. Some of them still work with his organizations or his friends. That's the story.
Thank you.
Okay, we've got one final questioner, I believe.
กฤษดาครับ Senior Journalist from ประชาไทยขออนุญาตถามเป็นภาษาไทยนะครับช่วยแปลด้วยนะครับคือคือเมื่อกี้ที่ฟังคุณอนุทีใช่ไหมครับคือผมเคยพูดถึง TGA ใน Facebook ส่วนตัวหลายครั้งผมรู้สึกว่า TGA เป็นแหล่งรวมของนักข่าวรุ่นกลางขึ้นไปซึ่งเป็นแหล่งรวมผมรู้สึกว่ามันเป็นแหล่งรวมผลประโยชน์ของนักข่าวระดับกลางสูงขึ้นไปซึ่งอยู่กับผลงานที่สูงส่งของตัวเองแล้วก็ใช้มันขายอยู่อย่างนั้นแหละแล้วก็ไม่ได้คิดที่จะรักษาผลประโยชน์ของนักข่าวตัวเล็กๆพูดง่ายๆคือผมไม่เคยเห็นการตั้งสหภาพแรงงานของนักข่าวเพื่อจะเรียกร้องอะไรใดๆเลยจาก TGA ผมก็เลยอยากจะถามว่า TGA เนี่ยหรือองค์กรแบบ TGA ซึ่งสื่อมวลชนไทยเนี่ยพยายามเรียกร้องให้มีการตรวจสอบกันเองใช่ไหมครับ TGA เนี่ยยังจำเป็นต่อเสรีภาพของสื่อในเมืองไทยหรือเปล่าแล้วถ้าจำเป็นเนี่ยคือนักข่าวอย่างเราท่านเนี่ยจะทำยังไงให้ TGA เนี่ยมันเป็นของนักข่าวจริงๆไม่ใช่ของนักข่าวระดับผู้บริหารที่ขึ้นไปอะไรเกาะกลุ่มกันเองแล้วก็มีมุมมองทางการเมืองเหมือนกันแล้วก็นั่นแหละครับจบครับขอบคุณครับ
Okay, I know it was a question about the Thai Journalists Association. Maybe you can summarize.
Maybe
Yeah.
I would like to translate his question. So the last point is a real question. He asked whether Thai Journalists Association remain relevant to the protection of the press freedom in Thailand, because he observed that the groups is composed of mainly a like-minded middle ranking and higher ranking of journalists who were there just protect the interests of the big group, not individual journalists. That's the question. And who to answer? Because this question should be posed to TJA, but since they are not here, I could perhaps share some views, because our organization working with them for so long, since our establishment almost 20 years ago, regardless whether the current public view TJA, I think you should take into account the public perception about Thai media as well. Currently, the majority of public, or half, perception about the Thai media is really bad, and that's where the Thai Journalists Association, which is the oldest organization that we have so far in terms of fighting against dictatorship. They've been there, they have good records, but perhaps the way they operate, the structure of the organization perhaps need to be changed in response to the changing media landscape. I would say that TGA now, they are membership-based organization, and mostly those who are members are mainstream media, print media. They are in the process of including online into the groups, because for now you cannot separate between online and offline media. You have mainstream media who operate websites. You have journalists who use social media and online news or whatever comes in as the new tips. It's hard to separate, but there need to be some kind of setting stone to provide a platform for discussion. If you really want, if the society, if the media still want TJA to be relevant, that's all I can say. I hope this get heard to them. Of course, they are aware of a number of criticism raised by our media friend from Voice TV. I guess they are soul searching, but under the current media situation, I think they are facing as much as restriction as the other media community face. But at least what they've been doing so far should be encouraged, because without them, nobody does the job. Of course, damn if you do, damn if you don't. Having said that, I didn't mean to defend them, but if it doesn't exist, who would represent the media to do all these things? Yeah.
I think have to give some more detail about when we talk about TJA. Actually, not only there are the 4 media organization that we supposed to be know. TJA is the oldest one, the Thai Journalists Association. Basically, it's a members of the print journalists, the print media, and the second one is a Thai Broadcast Journalists Association, TBJA. And the third one is Online News Association. I don't know.
The Council of Professional Broadcast.
That's
another group, and the Press Council.
And the Press Council, yeah. Okay, five organizations, which I'm not associated with them all. That's bad. But I think among those, I have to give the credit to the TJA. Among those, I think for at least 2 media organizations that I still give them some respect, some certain respect, is a TJA and union, the journalist union. The Central Journalist Union, I don't know what, but it's the union of the journalists in Thailand. So I think the journalist union, they represent the field workers. So the journalists who work at the field, so they know the problem, the situation, and they try to do the job to protect the field workers. I think this is very important. And for TJA, at least among that, there still be the organization who still says something about press freedom. Even I might not agree with them all, but some part that I still agree with them. And I think for the society, we still need these kinds of organization, but we probably have to train ourselves to be involved with them more, which I'm not yet ready for that.
Okay. Thank you very much for those frank comments. You know, it's always intimidating to get up before a room of 100 or more people. It's especially intimidating if you're a journalist and facing a room mostly of journalists with some diplomats and members of the military sprinkled in, hanging on your every word. So please give our panelists a round of applause for not only showing up but being brave. And thank you everyone for coming. You may be aware we have a Constitution panel on the agenda for next Tuesday. We'll see if that one is allowed to go through unhindered. So hope to see you back here next week. Thank you and good night.